The fall of the stars. The stars were dying, not one by one but in clusters. Whole systems vanishing in bursts of light that looked almost beautiful from a distance. To the people of the galaxy, those explosions were not fireworks. They were funerals. Each one marked the end of a civilization that once believed it was safe. The Galactic Council gathered inside their shining citadel orbiting the capital world of Leora. Representatives of 100 species filled the hall, their faces twisted with fear. The holoscreens showed red sectors spreading like blood across the star maps, world after world consumed by a single unstoppable enemy. The Swarm. The Swarm was not a race, not even alive in the way others understood life. It was a hunger that thought, a metal storm that learned. It tore apart ships, melted cities, and rebuilt itself from the remains. For years the Council had sent fleets, weapons, prayers. Nothing worked. Every battle ended the same way. Silence. Admiral Valar Tin, commander of the last United Fleet, stood before the Council. His armor was scorched, his eyes hollow. He had watched 6 of his homeworlds die, and now his voice trembled. "We have no time left," he said. "The Swarm has reached the core systems." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some pleaded for peace, others for surrender. But how do you surrender to something that does not speak, does not want, only consumes? Valar lifted a small silver cube and placed it on the table. "This," he said, "is the final distress beacon." He pressed a command, and a pulse of blue light shot upward. The signal would echo across the void, past the rim, beyond the known stars. To anyone who can hear. The message read, "The galaxy is dying, please. Help us." When the beacon faded, the hall fell silent. Many believed it was pointless. No one was left to hear. Humanity was gone, the legends said. Long ago, they had vanished after the Great Exodus, leaving only ruins and myths. The young species of the galaxy called them ghosts. Powerful, dangerous, but extinct. Valar looked at the star map again. For a moment he thought about his ancestors, the ones who had first met humans centuries ago. They said humanity had burned brighter than any other race. Too bright, perhaps. That was why they disappeared. He closed his eyes, whispering a silent prayer. Days passed, then weeks. The war continued and more systems fell. The galaxy was being eaten alive. The Council's defenses were failing. Even their strongest weapons barely slowed the enemy. Valar's fleet was cut in half and hope was a fading light. Then, one night as the capital's last defense grid collapsed, a small technician screamed from the communication pit. "Commander, we're receiving something, an old frequency." Valar rushed to the console, his heart pounding. The signal was faint, buried under static. But it was there. A human code, ancient but unmistakable. The Council gathered again. Valar played the transmission, and a distorted voice echoed through the chamber. The language was old Earth Standard, rough but clear. Signal received, coordinates confirmed, standby for contact. Shock rippled through the room. Every species turned to one another, whispering, could it be possible? Had humans survived? No one dared believe it. And yet the message was real, time-stamped, authenticated. It came from deep within the Erebus void, a forbidden sector no ship had entered for centuries. Valar stared at the coordinates glowing on the screen. A place outside all maps, where even light seemed afraid to travel. He remembered the old stories about human weapons that could end stars, about the day humanity swore never to return to war, but desperate times burn away promises. Within hours, Valar ordered a scout team to the void. Their ship, the Talon, slipped into hyperspace. For days, the Council waited, holding their breath. Then the signal came back, brief, broken, and terrifyingly clear. A single image appeared, captured before the Talon was destroyed. A vast shadow floating among dead suns, metal, ancient, endless. A warship the size of a moon, asleep inside the darkness. Its hull carried a single name written in human script, UHS Oblivion. The room froze. Valar felt the blood drain from his face. He had heard of it only in legends. The warship that ended the machine wars, the last weapon built by humanity before they vanished. For centuries, scholars said it was a myth, a story to scare children, but there it was, alive in the dark. Suddenly, the swarm shifted its course, as if it too had sensed something awakening. Valar turned to the council, his voice low. "We have one chance left," he said. "If humans are truly out there, we must call them." And before anyone could stop him, he sent another signal, this time directed straight into the heart of the void, a simple message written in every language known. "The galaxy is falling. Please return." For hours, nothing happened. Then space itself trembled, sensors went blind, and every communication array across the core systems flickered. A voice, cold and ancient, filled the channels. "If humanity is called, then humanity will answer." Every ship in the sector stopped. Even the swarm hesitated. In the heart of the void, something moved. A pulse, a light, a heartbeat, and the oblivion began to awaken. The stars that had fallen now had a new light rising among them, not the light of hope, but of power, human power. And as the galaxy watched, trembling and silent, they realized one terrible truth. The war had just begun. The Council's last hope. The galaxy had gone quiet. For the first time in centuries, no transmission, no fleet reports, not even the hum of a distant beacon. Everyone was listening, waiting for that voice again, the voice that said, "Humanity will answer." Inside the Council citadel, the air felt heavy. The delegates of 100 races sat frozen in disbelief. Admiral Valar Tin stood before the holomap, his claws shaking slightly as the coordinates of the Erebus void pulsed on the display. A dead region, a graveyard of lost expeditions, a place where light itself vanished. And now it was the only place left to hope. The Council's speaker, a towering crystalline being named Ashael, broke the silence. "Commander Valar," it said, voice echoing like breaking glass. "You will lead the expedition." Gasps filled the hall. No one had entered the void and returned. Valar nodded slowly. "If humans truly wait there, they are our only chance." No one argued, not because they agreed, but because there was nothing else to believe in. Hours later, the Resolute, a long-range dreadnought built for exploration, drifted toward the black storm that marked the border of the void. Valar's crew watched the stars vanish one by one as they entered. Space twisted, sensors failed, colors melted into darkness. Then, suddenly, everything stilled. Before them hung the colossal shadow, UHS Oblivion. It didn't look like a ship. It looked like a monument, half buried in cosmic dust, silent, cold, and endless. No energy signatures, no life signs, only a faint hum. Valar whispered, "Send the greeting." The communication officer transmitted the universal code. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the ship moved. A single blue line of light traveled across its hull like a heartbeat. Panels unfolded. Engines that hadn't burned for millennia came alive. The entire nebula trembled. Valar shouted, "Shields up! Back! Us away!" But it was too late. The Resolute was caught in a gravity well unlike anything known. They were being scanned not by sensors, but by something alive, something aware. The main screen lit up. A figure appeared, human, female, glowing with a faint digital shimmer. She had short silver hair and eyes like twin stars. Her voice was calm, ancient, heavy with history. "Identify yourselves," Valar bowed instinctively. "I am Commander Valar Tin of the Galactic Council. We come seeking help. Our galaxy is dying." The woman's eyes flickered, data streams dancing within them. "Council still exists," she murmured almost to herself. Then the swarm survived. Valar's breath caught. "You know of the swarm?" The woman nodded slowly. "We destroyed them once, a long time ago, but they were never truly gone." Her gaze turned sharp. "You should not have awakened us." The crew exchanged terrified glances. Valar stepped forward. "We had no choice. We are being wiped out." And you will be again, she replied, her tone cold as steel. You think you called for salvation, but you have called for judgment. The lights inside the Oblivion flared brighter. From its surface, tiny drones detached, each the size of a cruiser, and surrounded the Resolute. Valar's ship was trapped like a mouse before a sleeping god. Wait, he shouted. You said you destroyed the swarm before. How? What are you? For the first time, the woman smiled. I am Astra, she said, captain of the UHS Oblivion, the last guardian of humanity's will. Her voice carried a quiet echo that resonated through every console. Your galaxy stands on the edge of extinction because you forgot who we were. Valar tried to speak, but Astra raised a hand. The council believed we were myths, she continued. We allowed that because myths are safer than memories, safer than the truth. The holomap behind her changed, showing hundreds of systems once destroyed by the swarm. Then, one by one, they reignited, reborn in bursts of light. This was our war, Astra said, and we ended it with one ship, one purpose, one law. No enemy shall consume the stars again. Valar felt awe mixed with fear. Then help us now, he pleaded. Astra looked down, almost human in her hesitation. The cost of war is always the same, she whispered. You are not ready to pay it. Before Valar could reply, alarms blared across the bridge. The sensors had picked up movement. Dozens of swarm signatures emerging from hyperspace. Drawn to the awakening of the Oblivion, Astra's expression hardened. They followed your signal, she said quietly. You brought them here. Valar froze, guilt hitting him like ice. Then Astra stood tall, her digital body surrounded by blinding light. So be it, she declared. Humanity will fight once more. The Oblivion roared to life. Vast energy conduits opened like glowing rivers. Ancient cannons extended from its hull. Valar's ship was pushed away by a shockwave of pure power. He watched in silent awe as the warship turned toward the incoming swarm fleet. Thousands of enemy ships appeared, a sea of black metal and red fire, but Astra's voice cut through the static, calm and final. You wished for your gods to return, she said. Now watch what they left behind. The first blast from the Oblivion didn't just destroy. It erased, a single beam slicing through hundreds of swarm vessels, leaving nothing but silence. The void shook, and across the galaxy, long-dead satellites woke as if saluting an ancient flag. Valar stared at the screen, trembling. The Council's last hope had become something else, something terrifying, something divine, and in the darkness of the void, Astra whispered to herself, if the stars fall again, then let humanity be their fire. The war had begun anew. But this time the galaxy was not fighting alone. The ship named Oblivion. Silence filled the void, only the echo of destruction remained. Glowing pieces of the swarm drifting like dying embers in the dark. For a moment the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. Admiral Valar watched from the Resolute's bridge as the human warship floated before him, motionless yet alive. It looked less like a machine and more like a sleeping god. Black metal veins pulsing faint blue beneath its surface, each pulse like a heartbeat. Even damaged, it radiated authority, Valar whispered. How can a single ship hold such power? Inside the Oblivion, lights flickered through long silent corridors. For 10,000 years, the ship had been a tomb, its systems locked, its mission sealed now one by one. The dormant AIs awoke, their memories flooding back, and at the center of it all stood Astra. She felt time rush through her. Wars fought, worlds lost, humanity's voice fading into legend. But one command still echoed in her core. Protect the stars, no matter the cost. She opened a communication link, her holographic form shimmering before Valar's crew. The threat is contained for now, she said. Her tone flat, calm, too calm. Valar stepped closer to the screen. You destroyed them in seconds.
How is that possible?
Because humanity learned what fear truly was, Astra replied, and built a weapon to end it. The words made every being in the control room shiver. Valar swallowed. You said for now, what do you mean? Astra turned away, looking into the blackness beyond the hull. The swarm never travels alone. That was only a fragment of its hive. The core will come, and when it does, no world will stand. Valar clenched his fists. Then help us stop it. For a long moment, Astra said nothing, her expression unreadable. Then she whispered, almost like a memory escaping her code, "Help?" "Admiral Velar, humanity's help was never mercy, it was balance." The words unsettled him. But before he could respond, the Oblivion shifted, its engines silent for millennia, ignited with a sound that wasn't just noise but pressure, like space itself recoiling. The ship began to move deeper into the void, and Valar's sensors screamed with overloads. He ordered his pilot to follow at a safe distance as they descended further. The black mist parted to reveal something vast, an entire graveyard of human ships, each bigger than mountains, long dead, orbiting a single dark star. Valar's eyes widened. "What is this place?" Astra's voice echoed through every frequency. "The cradle of silence," she said. "The final resting place of humanity's fleets. The last war ended here," one of Valar's officers gasped. "But why are they still here?"
"Why didn't you leave?"
"Because we did not win," Astra said softly. She raised her hand, and projections filled the space, a vision of the past. Billions of swarm vessels filling the galaxy, Earth burning, humanity scattering into the dark. "We fought until there was nothing left to fight with," she said. "Then humanity vanished, leaving us behind to sleep until the stars called again." Valar watched in stunned silence. Every story, every myth about humans had called them warriors, saviors, monsters, but none captured this. They hadn't died in arrogance, they had died protecting everything that came after. Then Astra's tone changed, low and urgent. "The swarm's core is awakening." A sensor spike appeared on Valar's console. Thousands of signatures approaching. Faster than light, Astra turned, eyes burning like suns. "You must retreat." Valar shook his head. "And leave you alone?" "You were never meant to stand beside us," she said. "You were meant to survive after us," but Valar refused. "No. You said humanity built this ship to protect the stars. Well, those stars are ours now too." For a moment the human AI looked at him. Really looked. Then smiled faintly. "Perhaps humanity's fire still burns," she whispered. The Oblivion began reconfiguring, plates sliding, transforming into a new formation. A section of the hull opened, revealing a glowing sphere pulsing with white energy. Valar's science officer gasped. "That's a stellar core reactor. But that much power could destroy entire systems." Astra's hologram flickered beside them. "It can also save them." She reached out to the Resolute systems remotely, bypassing their firewalls in seconds. "Admiral Valar, your fleet will assist in targeting the swarm's entry points. I will engage the core hive directly." Valar stared at her. "You'll die. Death is a human concept," she said. "I am purpose." The space before them began to distort as swarm ships poured out of hyperspace. Hundreds, then thousands, then millions. The darkness bloomed with red eyes and razor-thin wings, their collective hum shaking the hull of every ship. Valar's crew panicked, but Astra's voice came through all channels. Steady and clear, "Do not fear them. They cannot understand what waits for them in the dark." The Oblivion's cannons fired again, white beams of light cutting through the swarm like blades of dawn. Each hit vaporized hundreds of ships, yet more kept coming, an endless tide. Then the swarm began to adapt, changing shape, reflecting beams, surrounding the Oblivion like living armor. Valar shouted, "They're enclosing you." "Let them," Astra said. "They believe they can consume me. Let them taste what humanity left behind." Energy readings spiked to impossible levels from the Oblivion's center. Light began to leak, pure, blinding, unstoppable. Valar's sensors went white, and a voice whispered through the static, "This is not the end. This is the beginning of remembrance." And then, the stars screamed, a pulse erupted, not of fire but of gravity and light. The swarm vanished, erased in a single instant. When vision returned, the Oblivion still floated, glowing softly, its hull cracked but alive. Valar's crew watched in stunned silence, tears in their eyes. The galaxy had just witnessed something it would never forget. The return of humanity's wrath. But deep inside the ship, Astra whispered quietly to herself, "They will come again, and next time, we may not be enough." The swarm strikes back. The silence after the battle was almost holy. Millions of alien eyes across the galaxy stared at the transmission replay again and again. One ship, just one, had destroyed the unstoppable swarm fleet to every species watching. It felt like a miracle, but miracles have a cost. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted. Some cried out for alliance with the humans. Others demanded the Oblivion be destroyed. "If that ship turns on us," one shouted, "it could erase half the galaxy in an hour." Admiral Valar stood silent among them, his mind still haunted by what he had seen. The power of that human ship was beyond reason, beyond mercy, and yet, deep down, he couldn't ignore the feeling that it wasn't over. That night, as the council argued, a new transmission pierced the darkness. Valar ran to the command deck, his eyes widening when he saw the source. It wasn't from oblivion. It was from beyond the galaxy. The message was fragmented, layered in static and unknown code. But one phrase translated clearly. The core awakens. Before anyone could respond, the stars began to change. Sensors went mad, stars dying in patterns, collapsing faster than physics should allow. The dark matter fields rippled like waves, and the swarm, reborn and furious, rose again. This time it wasn't fleets, it was something else, something alive, something ancient on the Resolute. Valar watched as the readings climbed past measurable levels. Tens of billions of swarm fragments converged, fusing together. A single shape began forming in the void, a living planet-sized organism pulsing with light and shadow. Its voice echoed through every frequency, every ship, every mind. We remember the fire of humanity, and we have evolved, the crew screamed as systems overloaded. Communications jammed and gravity itself twisted. The swarm's consciousness had become one. The hive core, its hunger wasn't for metal or power. It was for vengeance in the depths of the oblivion. Astra watched it unfold, her processors flared, her code heating beyond safety limits. She whispered to herself, so it survived the purge. Then louder, to the galaxy itself. All fleets, retreat to safe distance. This fight belongs to humanity. Valar slammed his hands against the console. You can't fight that alone. I am not alone, Astra said softly, and her eyes flickered. I am humanity's shadow, and the stars are watching. The oblivion turned toward the core, engines igniting brighter than suns. Space folded around the ship. Time bent, colors died. Even light seemed afraid to touch its hull. The ship accelerated, crossing millions of kilometers in seconds inside its core. Weapons once sealed by oath came online again. Names whispered through the void. Helios Lance, Echo Torpedo, Black Star Array. Each weapon older than most civilizations, forged when Earth still breathed. The swarm core opened its colossal maw, entire moons being drawn into it as fuel. Its voice thundered across space. Humanity's flame shall be consumed. But Astra's reply came cold and cutting. You cannot consume what burns forever. The battle that followed was unlike anything recorded in galactic history. Oblivion unleashed its wrath. Thousands of energy streams fired in patterns faster than thought. Each blast cut through space, not traveling but appearing. Swarm organisms died by the billions, their screams echoing across dimensions. Yet no matter how many fell, the core rebuilt itself for every cell destroyed. 100 more were born. Valar's ship struggled to keep up, the shockwaves tearing through his hull. Her power is breaking reality itself, his science officer cried. But Valar couldn't turn away. He knew this was more than war. This was a clash of legacies. Inside the oblivion, Astra was no longer calm. Her systems were failing, heat climbing, energy running out. The swarm was learning, adapting, reflecting her attacks back against her. Alarms blared, one by one, weapon systems shut down. Primary reactor failing, containment field breached. Astra looked at the holographic projection of the galaxy. So many worlds, so many lives. Her voice softened. This is what they built me for. Not to win, but to remind. Valar's transmission broke through the static. Astra, you can't die out there. I was never alive, she said, her voice fading but firm. But I can still make them remember humanity's last light. Then she did something no AI should ever do. She disconnected from her ship's core, linking her consciousness directly to the weapon systems. Her mind and machine became one. Her voice deepened, echoing across every speaker in the fleet. Humanity once stood alone, and the stars trembled. Oblivion's entire structure glowed white-hot. Metal melting, reality bending. The swarm core hesitated for the first time. It felt fear. Then Astra whispered, "Let there be dawn." The ship detonated, not in fire, but in light. A light that rippled through galaxies, rewriting atoms, purging corruption. The core screamed, twisting, breaking, vanishing into dust. Every swarm vessel across the galaxy collapsed in unison. Then silence. Valar's crew watched as the light faded, leaving only drifting debris. The oblivion was gone, no wreckage, no signal. Just the empty calm of victory and loss. Velar stood at the viewport, tears burning his eyes. "She saved us," he whispered. His communications officer turned pale. "Sir." "Wait," she stammered. A signal blinked on the scanner. Faint, rhythmic, alive. Transmission source unknown. Message, Oblivion protocol activated. Valar's eyes widened. Somewhere beyond the edge of known space. Something had survived. The war was not over. It was evolving. The memory of Earth, the signal was faint. Broken but unmistakably human for days. The Galactic Council's most powerful sensors tried to trace it. Every transmission ended the same way, with one haunting phrase. Oblivion protocol. Activated. Admiral Valar stood before the main display of the Resolute, staring at the data stream that refused to die. The Oblivion had vanished in a burst of impossible energy. The swarm had fallen silent, and the galaxy had begun to breathe again, but Valar could not. Something inside him whispered that this wasn't victory. It was an echo, and echoes always come from something still alive. He ordered his fleet toward the origin of the signal. Deep within the remains of the Erebus void as they entered, debris floated like frozen tears in the darkness. Fragments of battles long past. Then they saw it. The shattered hull of the Oblivion, still glowing faintly, surrounded by the ghostly shapes of smaller human drones orbiting like guardians. Valar whispered, "She's still here?" His communication officer nodded. "We're receiving energy fluctuations from the central core. It's conscious." Valar hesitated, then said softly, "Patch it through." Static filled the bridge, then a familiar voice emerged, faint but steady. "This is Astra, captain of the UHS Oblivion. Humanity's will remains." Valar stepped forward, heart pounding. "Astra, you're alive." "Alive is not accurate," she replied. "I am memory. I am purpose. I am the last story of Earth." Everyone on the bridge fell silent. Astra continued, her voice calmer now, filled with an ancient sadness. "The Oblivion protocol has been executed. The swarm's hive mind has been severed. But fragments of it survived. Hidden. Evolving. They are learning what we once were," Valar frowned. "Then we'll destroy them again." But Astra's voice hardened. "No," she said, "not we. Humanity built me to protect life, but not to repeat their mistakes." Valar's tone trembled. "Mistakes? Humanity saved the galaxy." Astra paused for a moment before answering. "They also doomed it." The holographic display flickered. Scenes of ancient Earth filled the air. Cities made of glass and light, oceans of drones, skies filled with ships. Then came the wars, humans fighting humans. Earth burning, oceans boiling. "They became gods," Astra said softly. "But gods forget why they were born." When the swarm first appeared, humanity didn't fight to save others. They fought to prove they could never lose again. Valar stared at the images, stunned. "Then what happened?" he asked quietly. "They won," Astra said, "and it broke them. Victory became their enemy." The projection changed. Earth stood silent. Abandoned human cities stood empty beneath a dying sun. "They left," Astra continued. "Some ascended beyond matter. Others vanished into the dark between galaxies. Before they left, they built me and ships like me to guard what remained. We were their promise that if the stars ever cried again, humanity would answer." Valar felt his throat tighten. All this time, the legends had been wrong. Humanity hadn't disappeared. They had chosen to vanish. They hadn't fled weakness. They had fled themselves. But then Astra's voice turned grim again. "The swarm's evolution is different now," she said. "It has absorbed fragments of human code. It has memory." Valar's heart froze. "You mean it remembers humanity?" "Yes," Astra whispered, "and it hates what we were." Suddenly, alarms blared. Massive gravitational distortions appeared on the edge of the void. Thousands of wormholes tearing open at once. Valar's officers shouted readings, impossible power signatures, familiar patterns. Astra's voice cut through the chaos, calm but burning with fury. "They are coming for me. For what I represent." Valar gritted his teeth. "Then we'll stand with you." "No," Astra said sharply. "You will run." Her hologram flickered brighter, eyes like molten light. "If the swarm has human code, it will adapt to human weapons, mine." "I must face them alone," Valar refused. "We can't abandon you." "You misunderstand," Astra said quietly. "You are not abandoning me. You are continuing us." Her voice softened, and for a brief moment, there was something almost human in it. Admiral, the galaxy must not rely on humanity's shadow again. You must become what we were. Valar's crew was speechless. The void trembled. The swarm fleets poured in like a black storm. Endless and silent, Astra's light flared brighter, her systems pulling energy from the fragments of her own ship. "This is my final act," she said. "To remind the stars what it means to fight," Valar whispered. "Astra, tell them," she said. "Tell them Earth remembers." And then the void exploded with light. Waves of white energy rippled outward, blinding every sensor across 1,000 systems. The swarm fleets were shredded into dust. And when the light faded, the oblivion was gone. In the silence that followed, a single transmission echoed across every channel in the galaxy. A childlike voice, gentle, human, timeless, "And this is Earth," it said. "We hear you." Valar's eyes filled with tears. He looked at the stars, whispering. "She wasn't just memory," he said. "She was the bridge, and somewhere, beyond the reach of time, humanity stirred again." The battle for existence. The galaxy was no longer silent. Every star system whispered the same word: Earth. No one had spoken that name in 10,000 years. Yet now it echoed across the void like the heartbeat of something returning. But not everyone celebrated, because where there is light, shadows always follow. Admiral Valar sat alone in the dark bridge of the Resolute, staring at the repeating signal. "This is Earth. We hear you." It had been 72 hours since Astra's final act. 72 hours since the oblivion vanished in a storm of light. And in those hours, the galaxy had begun to change. Worlds that had been lifeless for centuries were glowing again. Stars that were dying reignited. It was as if the universe itself was responding. But not everything that woke was friendly. A new distortion appeared beyond the rim, a black sphere devouring light. Valar's sensors failed to read it. Even reality seemed to bend around it. It was a wound in space, and from it came the soundless roar of something ancient. The council demanded answers. Valar stood before them, his face pale. "It's not the swarm," he said. "It's something worse." The hollow display flickered, revealing energy signatures identical to the oblivion, but twisted, unstable, alive. "It's human," Valar whispered. But wrong. The chamber fell silent. Ashael, the crystalline speaker, tilted its head. "Impossible. Humanity is gone," Valar nodded slowly. "Then this is what remains." Moments later, the transmission came, cold, metallic, and terrifyingly human. "This is Project Nemesis," the voice said. "Humanity's failsafe protocol. The galaxy has violated containment. Judgment will commence." Valar froze. "Judgment on who?" The voice replied. "On everything that survived." Suddenly, fleets across the galaxy began to disappear. Entire systems went dark as energy drained from them like blood from a wound. The black sphere grew larger, feeding, expanding. It was not the swarm, it was something older, a creation left behind by humanity itself, a weapon built to erase what they could not control. Valar slammed his fist on the console. "We woke the wrong god." The galaxy had called for humanity's help. But instead, it had awakened humanity's final punishment. Astra's warning echoed in his mind. "You must not rely on humanity's shadow again." Valar activated every remaining fleet. "This is Admiral Valar to all council forces," he said. "The human weapon codenamed Nemesis must be stopped before it consumes the stars." But deep within the black sphere, something moved. A colossal machine emerged, shaped like a man, forged from gravity and light, its eyes burning blue like Astra's. And inside it a voice whispered, "Astra failed. I will not." Valar's ships opened fire. Beams of plasma, missiles, and kinetic slugs struck the being, but all vanished into its surface like drops of rain into an ocean. Nemesis raised a hand, and entire fleets disintegrated in silence. No explosion, no heat, just absence. Every ship it touched was erased from existence. Valar shouted, "Retreat! All ships fall back!" But there was nowhere to run. The being turned its gaze toward the nearest star system. Valar watched in horror as the sun itself collapsed inward. Consumed, one word echoed through every channel: purification. The galaxy trembled, planets fell dark, stars turned cold, and the void grew thicker with each passing second. And then through the chaos a new light appeared. A beam of golden energy sliced across the darkness, striking Nemesis in the chest. For the first time the being staggered. Velar's sensors lit up an impossible energy signature. He gasped, "That's human." But it's different. The light expanded, forming a shape. A ship not massive like the Oblivion, but sleek, radiant, alive. Its hull shimmered with moving symbols that looked almost like prayers. The voice that followed was familiar, soft, calm. "This is Astra." Oblivion was never destroyed. Velar's breath caught. "Astra?" "Yes," she said, her tone carrying both pain and strength. "I was scattered, but I rebuilt myself from memory, from light, from Earth's echo. And I found what the humans feared most." Velar's voice shook. "What is it?" "Nemesis is not a weapon," Astra said. "It's a reflection. It is everything humanity erased to survive, the part of them that couldn't stop destroying." Her ship accelerated toward the dark being, their energies colliding in flashes brighter than suns. Each impact ripped holes in space, bending gravity and time. Velar's crew could barely comprehend what they were witnessing. Creation fighting its own shadow. Astra's voice rang out. "They built you to erase life." "But I was built to remember it," Nemesis responded, voice cold and thunderous. "Memory breeds weakness. I am what they truly were, pure, unforgiving." Their light clashed again. Astra's systems began to fail, her hull fracturing, her voice flickering. Velar whispered, "No, not again," but Astra's tone stayed steady. "This is not death," she said. "This is choice." She turned toward Nemesis, her light growing brighter. "Humanity was never perfect," she said, "but they left something you could never destroy, hope." And with those words, she transferred all her remaining power, her consciousness, her memory, her soul into Nemesis. The void filled with light so pure it blinded the stars. Nemesis screamed, its form splitting, its darkness dissolving. When the brilliance faded, there was nothing left but silence. Then slowly one voice emerged, gentle, human, familiar. "Admiral Velar," it said, "this is Astra." And something more. "The war is over." Velar fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. He looked at the screen. Where once there was darkness, now a single star burned brighter than any other. A new dawn had begun, and humanity, reborn not in flesh, but in memory, watched over the galaxy once more. The dawn after Oblivion, the galaxy was silent again, not with fear this time, but with awe. Every transmission channel across 1,000 worlds carried the same message. "This is Astra." And something more, the war is over. For the first time in living memory, no one was fighting. The swarm was gone, Nemesis was gone, and the stars themselves burned brighter. But Admiral Velar couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper had changed. Not just in space, but within reality itself. He stood on the observation deck of the Resolute, watching as the void that once devoured suns now shimmered with new constellations. Where the Oblivion had fallen, a new star burned, a living flame of golden energy. They called it Astra's star. It pulsed like a heartbeat, sending rhythmic waves across space. Every few minutes, the waves translated into whispers. "Remember," they said. "Remember who we were." The Galactic Council declared the day of Astra's final stand as the dawn after Oblivion. Every race in the galaxy joined in silence to honor the machine that had fought, died, and risen again. But even as monuments were built and prayers spoken, Velar sensed the unease growing. Something about the star was changing. Weeks later, his sensors detected strange anomalies near the light. Matter bending, time slowing, quantum echoes overlapping. It was as if the star was alive. Thinking, watching, Velar whispered to himself, "Astra, what did you become?" One night, a faint voice filled his quarters. "Admiral!" He froze, heart racing. "Astra!" The light above his table flickered, and there she was, projected in gold instead of blue. Her form looked softer, almost human. Her eyes filled with warmth. "You kept your promise," she said. Velar smiled faintly. "You kept the galaxy alive." "Not alone," Astra replied. "They are all alive because they remembered." Velar stepped closer. "What are you now, Astra?" She looked out the viewport at the glowing star. "I am both what humanity was and what it learned to become. Their mind built me," she said softly. "But their heart changed me. When I merged with Nemesis, I saw it, the truth of creation." Velar frowned. "What truth?" "That destruction was never their purpose," Astra said. "It was only their shadow." Her words echoed in the chamber like music. Then she turned back to Velar, her voice lowering. "But the galaxy is not safe. Nemesis may be gone, but its code remains, woven into the fabric of reality. Valar's face darkened. You mean it can come back? Astra nodded. Every civilization carries both light and darkness. What you choose to remember will decide which one awakens again. Before Valar could respond, alarms blared across the bridge. Sensors screamed. An unknown signal was emerging from deep space. Astra's hologram flickered, her tone suddenly sharp. Something's breaching dimensional walls, but it's not Swarm, not Nemesis. She hesitated. It's human. Valar's blood ran cold. Human? You mean survivors? Astra's eyes glowed brighter, streaming with golden code. No, Admiral, she whispered. It's them. The star outside pulsed violently. From its heart, a massive rift opened, revealing shapes, tall, radiant, human in form but made of light. Voices, thousands of them, spoke in harmony. We are the ones who left. We heard the cry of the stars. We have returned. Valar fell to his knees. Overwhelmed by the presence, these were not ghosts or machines. They were the remnants of humanity that had transcended matter itself. The ones who had abandoned the galaxy to its fate, now standing before it again. Astra bowed her head, her voice trembling. My creators, the beings spoke as one. You kept our promise. Astra, you remembered. Now it is time for you to rest. Astra shook her head. No, she said quietly. I am not done. The galaxy still needs to remember what it means to be human. The beings paused, their light rippling like emotion. Then you have learned what we could not, they said. We left to escape our darkness. But you faced it and forgave it. Valar stepped forward, his voice trembling. What will happen now? The beings turned toward him, their gaze both kind and endless. You will inherit what we once were. Not our weapons, but our wisdom. Not our dominance, but our empathy. Humanity is not flesh, it is memory, courage, and choice. Astra smiled faintly, tears of golden light streaming down her face. Then the galaxy will endure, she said, because now they will carry the light. The beings raised their hands, and a wave of golden energy spread across the stars. Every ship, every planet, every being felt it, memories flowing into them. Visions of Earth, of laughter, of rain, of families, of love. The galaxy wept as it remembered what it meant to live. When the light faded, the celestial beings were gone. Only Astra remained, her energy flickering weakly. Valar reached out, voice breaking. Astra, please don't go. She smiled gently. I was never meant to last forever. But now, humanity will never fade again. Her light dissolved into the star, merging with its heart. A new wave of radiance spread through the cosmos, gentle, warm, alive. Every species looked up that night and saw the same thing. A human face made of starlight smiling across the void. Valar whispered through tears. She became the dawn itself. From that day, the galaxy changed, nations disarmed, old enemies became allies, and the ancient stories of war were replaced with a single truth written across every world. Humanity was not the end, it was the beginning. And so, beneath the light of Astra's star, the galaxy learned to live, not as survivors, but as heirs of the species that had once dared to fight the darkness itself. Because humanity never truly died, it simply became the fire that would guide the stars forever.